are we on? Is this live now?
It's live now.
Hi, I'm Rich Mahlerwein, and this is Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm not on camera, but I'm right here.
Yes. We're here to talk about building for supportability and Checklist.conf and a variety of other things. Hopefully we'll touch all the important pieces. Well, I guess we'll find out. We do have some disclaimers, as we always do. This mostly comes down to the fact that we have a 90-day trial, and we usually recommend the customers go ahead and set that up, get it running, and make everything work. So the problem is if they hit any massive stumbling blocks, they just give up. So sometimes we can get them to call us for support, or we're happy to help them, but it's way easier to just not have those problems in the first place, or have a clear indication of what's going on.
If we turn the brightness down, actually, that might help.
Maybe if you can find a thingy.
Oh, I mean on the.
Oh,
on your,
can I do that here?
I think you can.
So let me just do this.
Yeah. That's better. Well, that might, yeah,
We'll try that.
Really better.
Let me just go down to 0.
Beautiful.
All right, so now I just got to see it on here.
That's the word. I know I caused a terrible problem.
Let's see if that's a little better. I think it's just the darkness. It's okay, we'll just keep going.
Well, yeah, now it's saturating out again.
It is. Oh, well look, when I'm close.
This is like the Wozniak thing where he made the guy
All right.
use his arms like bunny ears.
Okay, so here we go. I will just blot out part of it. Well, hopefully we'll be able to continue seeing this. All right. So what are we really talking about with supportability? Mostly it's about making the customer or the user's lives better. Essentially trying to make sure that whoever ends up with the process of having to fix these things has a much easier time of it, doesn't have to spend so much time trying to figure out what's even wrong, and otherwise identifying common misconfigurations and detecting when stuff doesn't work right.
One problem is this is something that we all wish that we did more of, and we don't really do it because we feel like it's a lot of work. We're going to show some stuff here that gives you a really low barrier to entry. You can kind of sneak in a health check, just writing a piece of SPL and checking it in. It could be into a deployment, it could be about just one dashboard, or it could be about an enormous app. And then later on, someone will see that health check fail, and they'll remind, oh yeah, this is a thing that commonly fails. We should probably fix that. And then after they see it 3 or 4 times, they put something in the product to make it better. So a low barrier to entry.
Great. So we have a few keynotes here, and you can always look these up later because we'll try to provide these slides as a link out of the YouTube stream. But there's a couple of gotchas inside Checklist.conf, which is primarily what we're talking about. The searches underneath it are also what we'll talk about a bit, but for the most part, you have to do a few things in the right order. For one, failure, or not necessarily in the right order, but do the right things. Failure text in the conf file is marked as optional, but it turns out that if you don't have it and you have a failure, the MC and other things won't ever tell you what the failure is. It just gives you a big red warning line. So it's really not optional, even though technically you don't need it because you could just leave it blank. They do provide a method for doing drill down searches. Problem is that the monitoring console doesn't use those. There is an enhancement request in. Hopefully that will become in there soon because they realize that they missed that part. And they're really useful because they don't have to actually match exactly the search that generated the error in the first place. You can actually give more information about it, so which we'll see a little bit later. The other thing is that it always has to return a row. You'll need to do fill nulls or whatever you have to do to make sure you always have a row. Sometimes it's make results and then just append things into it. And we've gone all saturated again, mainly because it sees the dark. Here, I will lean in. Focus. No. Well, anyway, you saw this screen just a moment ago. Actually, if you could go back that up a little bit, I think that would work because then you could get in too. So, excuse us for a moment while we moved you, and that didn't help.
Didn't help.
I wish we could find the remote control for this guy and turn down its brightness way down. That might be under here, but I don't want you rummaging under my...
That doesn't seem right.
Oh, wait, here we go. I'll back up. This works.
Okay.
So another couple of things. In order to make these work at all, you need to return 3 fields: instance, metric, and severity level. The instance, in our case, is always all. But if you have a host name, that's usually what that ends up being. The metric is... or Splunk server. Right. And the severity level is what drives what sort of error, whether you get a warning and information. This is all pretty straightforward stuff here. The other couple of big points here. Don't duplicate your work. Just keep in mind it's SPL. Once you've created a severity level, for the most part, you could use that to match your metric level to give the right wording for what the error actually is. And also check out their checklist.conf items inside the app, because there's a lot of goodness there to start using as a template for your own. So I believe at this point, oh, fun. We really should plan this better. I got a demo. I better open up Splunk. So let's...
Are you running Cisco CDR?
I will... Yeah, well, we could do that. I got things. I just got to like turn it on because it was off. CD. By the way, if you'd like to learn later... Oh, you can't see this. I'll just move it over here. There we go. This is Ubuntu running on, well, Splunk on Ubuntu on the Windows subsystem for Linux on Windows 10. And it works fabulously. So, and I'll be giving one of these tomorrow about how to do that. It's actually pretty easy. Anyway, so I got to do a startup Splunk because we were totally unprepared for this. Splunk. Come on, typewriter.
And streaming it out.
Oh, wait.
Health checks and Checklist.conf. So basically put in a little health check. Could be a dashboard. Could be for a dashboard that might fail in a common way, or an app. So this is the B-sides. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm presenting at 145.
You're in the right place.
All right, so this is where I'll show up.
Okay.
Nick, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I did. I did mean start. Thank you. Took you a while to get to that point. All right, so let me get that started. I will open up a browser. In fact, I'm going to... Yes, if you would like to speak.
We actually have our own little checklist runner that we wrote. Well, we wrote a couple of them in our apps, and we're going to ship one in Sideview admin tools at some point. So I guess check out Dick for that. And the advantage of running ours versus yours is, I guess, that the drill down searches work properly. But it also introduces Sideview Sideview utils as a dependency. Oh, hey, we could demo 3.0.
I know. I was just thinking the same thing.
I don't think you have 800.
Oh, I don't.
Likely.
Look at that. Why am I am terrible typing. Maybe you should be typing.
Oh,
stop it. Stop it.
curse.
Stop the thing.
It's the camera.
Stop it.
There's 0 in front of your local host.
Oh, yeah, that's where that one went. Huh. No, that's not. Yeah, no, thank you, Goop.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing. There we go.
Hey,
There we go.
hey, there we go.
All right.
Much better. Always run all your Splunk instances as admin. Make sure you use change me as the password. That way, if somebody else needs to get in, you know.
wise.
That's right.
Very well.
Very wise.
Checklist.conf shipped in monitoring console in 6.0 or 6.1 or something. So, or anyways.
I'm going to have actual errors all over the place, so.
Yeah,
I don't even think I have proper data in here.
In the 7.1, I think, did they change it so that the searches run in the app's app
Oh,
context.
this is this one.
Prior to that, it runs all in the monitoring console's app context, which is particularly useful.
Great. So where do you want to start? Would you rather go over?
Let's look at the monitoring
MC?
console runner
All right.
first, and then we can look at ours.
All right. So if we
We should
go
have made
here,
some checks fail.
I'm thinking there will be some.
Oh, because it's dev data. Yeah. Right. Our
I'm not actually sure what status this data's in at the moment.
This has been a great tool for us because we can put in like 15 checks. I think we have 15 now, and
Yeah.
there are the common things that it's just too tedious to
Here,
check.
move over just a little bit and you'll be kind of in the window. There
And,
we go.
And also can serve, as I said before, as reminders, where if there is a chronic problem where we just want to know about it, but it's not a real error state or a fail state, we can put something in to at least tell the local admin, hey, this thing, contact Sideview, it's not supposed to do this.
We'll go ahead and just run them. See
run
what
'em,
happens.
yeah.
Yep. So, hopefully it'll run. Is it doing anything? Oh, it's trying. It's thinking about it. Sorry, I just opened up Splunk and just started it. It's going, oh, look at there. See, so we already have failures. We have warnings.
All pitfalls are fatal because our prospects are setting this up themselves. Often they're not even that comfortable with Splunk. They're just call manager experts.
Yes.
And they're trying out our product. So they make these mistakes all the time, and that's fine. So this same runner runs on our homepage and would catch the critical ones. But here, this is the one for the explicit administrator to come in and see, in the context of monitoring console, what's failing. Most apps don't use these. The ones that ship in Splunk are really the only ones you'll see in here generally. But you can add your own. It's not hard.
So, as you can see, there's errors, there's all kinds of things. So this is what the monitoring console gives you, and if you click on it, it'll actually take you to the description that you've provided inside Checklist.conf and stuff, and you could play with this and see how it all works. It's relatively straightforward. Other than those gotchas we've mentioned before about always returning a row or else you'll just have blanks. Always have a failure text or else this would just be empty. It would have the big red triangle and nothing, which is not helpful.
It's very helpful.
So, yeah, see, so here's our results over there and everything like that. But this also has a spot for the drill downs when you create the files, but it doesn't do anything with them. We fortunately do, though.
Now, why do you have a slider lookup if it's not in the right order?
It's a darn fine question.
The app really tries hard to make that never happen, but there is a health check in case it does.
That's right. So inside ours, let's go to, where am I at? Oh, run health checks are there.
Actually interesting because the health check was the first thing in there, and then we ended up building the feature that doesn't let it ever happen. And I actually forgot the health check's still running, of course.
Right.
So then our feature, somehow on this dev instance, is broken again. So it's telling us, hey, the slider blocks are in the wrong order.
Yeah.
That's bad.
So for instance, in our case, I believe the run troubleshooting search means there's an actual drill down defined for this one. So we have a warning recent data for the last 5 hours is missing from any indexes, which is a great warning, far better than the I'm running search and I don't get any results. From an administrator point of view, especially if you're not a true Splunk admin who's been doing this for years, this makes a heck of a lot more sense than clicking browse calls in our app and not finding anything. But because we do this with the drill downs, we can actually click the run troubleshooting search and it gives you even more information. I hope this is one that's actually really nicely instrumented. We'll find out here shortly.
In practice, a lot of these use the rest commands because we're often checking what the config says should be the case and then using TStats to check what the data says is the case and then erroring when the two are not the right thing.
Right, yep. So, and here's the search. Remember what I said about this is actually one with a severity level and a metric that aren't necessarily quite exactly the same. Pay no never mind of that. Lots of text. I also try to make them easy to read. But yeah, so in many cases, there's a whole different set of information being given out here so that it's even more apparent what's actually going wrong. I think the macro one, macro index tells you that's where your macro says your data should be, and so on and so forth. But there's nothing in there in the last 5 hours. We should put in when it last showed up.
This is the one that detects like 5 different cases. This is the awesome one.
Yeah, this is like total awesome sauce. You don't want to start quite at that level.
Yeah.
Let's find something a little simpler that broke. Oh, we could just find one that failed or that did work.
Yeah.
In this case, see health check results, in our case, means there's no drill down defined. So you would just pull open the actual search that generated this error. Run troubleshooting search CSV. Oh, this is fun when you just break those. You are aware that a CSV lookup, if it has a leading space or a trailing space, will make the lookup not work, even though it looks like it should. And everything inside Splunk, when you go look at the lookup and do an output lookup and stuff, won't show you those spaces.
This is the one where the TA is missing.
This is the TA, yep.
Yeah, no, the one you're talking about is maddening, a maddening support case where people hand edit a lookup and they'll leave trailing space characters or leading space.
Right, and it'll no longer match. USA space does not match USA.
It looks fine.
Looks fine because Splunk will always trim out that space to show it to you, but the lookup won't work. So we run one to find that. Let's see. Oh, you're right, this is the extraction.
Because now we can just run the health check.
Required lookups, let's see if we can find it real quick. Numbers entered or leading. Here we go, leading indicator. Look at that, it's even broken. Look at that. In fact, I believe that's my test case.
Nice.
It should have 5 of them because it's got one leading space or trailing space everywhere. They might. A lot of them will be some number space at end. So there's an actual space here, but you can't find it inside Splunk most of the time unless you do it the right way. So again, a great search to run. All we do is check. We just strip out the leading and trailing spaces and confirm that it still matches with what the output lookup had first.
So when we closed off this support case, we added a checklist for it saying we want to never, ever have to do that troubleshooting ever again.
Right, or at least make it really clear what the problem is. Hopefully they just fix it themselves. Like, oh, I've got a leading space or trailing space in that.
It's always best when the support case doesn't even exist.
Right, space at end. You know what, I can fix that. We might get a call about where do I go to fix it. Great, we'll help you. That's fine. So let's see. Well, let's go back to, I think that was it we wanted to go for a demo right here. We just wanted to show a few examples on the slide. So let's go back to our slide deck if I can find it. Let me just, hello touchscreen. Oh, that's awesome.
We run a subset of the critical checks on the homepage.
Right.
And you can't do that in the monitoring consoles runner, but we didn't find it particularly hard to embed our own runner if you're an app developer listening, and you can use ours in a deployment.
Right, and we can show that at the end just with a quick REST. It grabs it via REST and then just enumerates through that list and runs them all.
Right.
So yeah, again, here's some of the pitfalls. Like, do my thinking only once, severity level equal whatever this is. It's either going to be like a full out error or it's totally fine. There's no in between. Either your data's in the right place or it isn't. So once you've done that math, just use that again for your metric if it makes sense. Usually it does. Sometimes there's a little bit of if in there. And again, this is often instance. The instance is often host or the Splunk server involved, or whatever it happens to be. And the docs, actually, Checklist.conf actually mentions how to use that and what it ought to be set to most of the time. So sometimes the docs on those are pretty good.
Yeah, the feature was built very much for Splunk's internal health checks, and so it's all about what distributed search peer is going wrong, or what forwarder host is going wrong. So you can use it for users, you can use it for LDAP, you can use it for whatever you want to use it for. You just end up having to make your own metric string.
So again, back to this always having a row and always making sure you're filling out everything. If you use case, make sure you have a default catch-all, right? Yeah, and another tip, sometimes the drill down search, if you make one, is really just remove the bit that just tells it to spit out the instance metric and severity level. Sometimes you just remove that and everything else is what they need to see anyway. There'll be a little extra debugging in there.
Actually, I think in our runner, if you don't have a drill down search, it'll just use the regular search.
Right, yeah, it does. So, all right. So some use cases of what things we've already done. Forgetting to deploy a TA, which essentially does all the extractions at the front end. So we look for data that's like right source type and broken, like totally just not right. So, and then we point out specifically, hey, you didn't do this, so now it's pretty easy to fix, right? Even if they can't fix it themselves, now instead of calling us up saying, I don't know, my data doesn't work right, they call up or send in a ticket saying, it says I didn't install the TA to the forwarders. What does that even mean? We're like, no problem, you've already got us halfway there. We don't have to do the diagnostics and troubleshooting part. All we need to do is set up a WebEx and hop in and help you.
It's often the local admins. Our customers are the Cisco Voice, our Cisco Unified Communications, right. And they don't necessarily run Splunk, so they can tell the Splunk people, it says that you removed our TA, and they go, oh look
whoops.
At that, we removed your TA.
Sorry.
We'll
fix that. So, right, yeah, TStats is a great thing to know. Lookup fails, we already talked about this a little bit. You can check for duplicate entries. You can do all kinds of things. I mean, here's a list. You can read it offline after the fact, or read it right now. You're looking at the screen. Indexing lag, which is an interesting case in ours because all of our stuff has always lagged, because we get it once a minute, the SFTP records about when the call terminated, and we do some math to do the call started back when. So there's always a bunch of indexing lag, and
it always lags by the duration of the call.
Right. So anyway, you can give them secondary severity. What we found, I think it's a lot more readable if the severity level may have the big red warning flag or something. Inside the text of the description, put a little bit at the front. I mean, admins are busy having that duplication of like warning and results, or everything's okay, we're good to go. That way it just gives them a secondary thing. They see a green check mark and the okay word. It helps. Again, it's about keeping people from wasting time. Data assumptions, is the customer on track?
This is actually outside of the bounds of Checklist.conf. In the same vein, you can leave yourself a present for the future, or leave a present for whoever is going to be stuck supporting whatever this is. You can leave them a hidden view, a hidden troubleshooting view. It does not have to be pretty. It can be literally a dashboard that just has HTML on it with like a bunch of searches that you can run. A little reminder for someone. I've been installing this app on customers for a long time. There's just a little thing that forecasts what the license usage is for a given day. So if people call up and they say, we've had two license overages in the last 3 days because of unexpected log volume, we're kind of freaking out, what do we do? And I'll say, go look at this view. On any given day, it'll forecast out to the midnight of that day and guess whether or not you're going to go over. And it's paired with an alert. It's just like a little hidden thing that, it gives them something to do to make sure the rest of the day they don't go over a third time or a fourth time. And it's just dumb. It wasn't made to be pretty. It's actually kind of ugly. I should probably work on it more, but like I said, it's low barrier to entry. You're putting in something basically for the person supporting it, and often it ends up being useful for the admin user unexpectedly.
It's more than nothing.
Yes,
already.
More than nothing.
And we're getting a little close on time, so I'd like to show them what it actually looks like. We'll just flip through these last. Oh yeah, we're almost done anyway with the slides, so this is perfect. You know, checking fields that are supposed to be valued are actually single valued. There's a lot of use cases that you can apply these kinds of things to. It's boundless. Essentially, any error that is able to be detected inside Splunk by looking at the data itself, you can do, or by looking at configurations. You can pull out capabilities for the people via REST and make sure that they're an admin. You're going to a page that requires admin rights, and you're not an admin. You're really not going. It's not going to work. Sorry. Even if you see something, don't believe it, because you're not an admin.
This is kind of back in the back pocket tools category, not related to Checklist itself. This is a tool that we wrote to basically tell us whether anyone's using the customer deployment. And it's not limited to our app. It tells what searches all users are running in what apps and what views they're in at that time. So you can find really nasty offenders both in the app layer and the user layer and go and discipline the user or scream at the app as necessary. And it's quite useful because sometimes the customers will say, I don't actually know who's using it out there. I set it up for the Unified Communications team, and I'm not sure how many of them are using it. And this gave us something to go to. It ships hidden. It was never really released as a product, but it's something that we can send people to as a tool. And you'll see it's pretty useful. You can certainly use it to go and take away people's search capabilities if they're just not listening to you.
or railroad a few people into, look, you haven't even logged in and done anything.
Or find someone who's made a truly egregious dashboard that really breaks MapReduce, and every time anyone loads it, all hell breaks loose. That's another good way this could be used. Clara has another good search that's related to that. Oh, this is a fun one. I'll take this one.
Okay, here, why don't we swap spots?
Sure.
Because the next bit will be, I'm wearing it. Un momento, por favor.
You're good.
You can leave it there.
This?
Perfect.
Oh, jeez. Sorry. This is the Sideview Editor. It's actually how you edit Sideview XML views. We don't need to talk about that, but I snuck in a runtime debug mode many years ago because I needed it personally to debug when I was developing the framework. And so it would just tell, like, at this particular node that we're focused on, which in this case is the pager, what keys is it adding for downstream modules, what keys did it inherit from upstream modules, and you can click any module in this interaction, in this visualization, and it'll tell you that information. It shipped, because I always ship these kind of tools. I don't really care. I needed it for myself. I figured it would be useful to other people. Someone found it and then started using it, and then I started trying to fix the bugs. But like I said, it was kind of a low barrier to entry. I kind of shipped it as a work in progress. We had a great demo yesterday of Splunk 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, which had an example of the pyramids. I don't think we don't have a screenshot of the pyramids in here.
We don't have a screenshot.
But that was another like runtime debug tool that was just written in like an hour for internal Splunk engineers to use, and then we ended up shipping it in Splunk 2 in 2006, and it lived in the product for years. But it was super useful. Anyway, I like accidentally shipping things that you wrote for yourself or you wrote for your own support team. They end up also being very useful to the local admins. That's, I think, the moral.
Right. Was there anything else?
Not that I can think of.
The next page is done. And Rich.
I think you're
Rich.
and Rich at SidevviewApps.com as well.
He's the boss.
He's the boss. Corporate.
We edited these slides down from a longer version of it that I gave a long time ago.
I must not have ever gotten to this page. Thank
Rich,
you very much. I will attempt to figure out how to turn off this stream.
Cheers.